I'm back. It's kids' time. And I could just barely hear kids making noise. And now I forgot to tell you that you could just grab some pots and pans from the kitchen and just maybe a wooden spoon and start banging away. Now, I'm being shepherded here by a crew of people. So next week, before I do the kids' time, they're going to remind me to tell you to just go to the kitchen and grab a bunch of stuff and make a whole lot of noise. So will you all remind me? Okay. So I have show and tell today. I have some show and tell. And that's a good slide to have up first. I want to show you something because I'm going to come back to this with a slide. And I set it over here. It's kind of delicate, and you won't be able to see it all that well. But this is a bird's nest. So I've brought it. I've got it sitting on a book. It's kind of delicate. And if you know anything about birds, I'm going to show you some. And that's a robin on the screen. And I want you to think about, many of you have seen robins' nests. Is this a robin's nest? Okay, what do you think, Steve? Okay, thumbs are up. So, I don't want to knock it on the floor. Okay. Now, I want to take you back to the beginning of the Bible, when God made everything. Remember, God made people. And that's really important for you and me. God made people. And the first person he made was a guy. And he was called, we call him Adam. And God made him from the earth. So the word for earth in Hebrew is Adamah. So he's called Adam. And if we were going to translate his name, it would be earthling, right? He's earthling from earth. And then a little later, he has a wife, doesn't he? We call her Eve, but her name really means life. Yeah, it means life. So the first two people are earthling and life. But you remember, I'm stepping back a bit. Here's Adam, and he was lonely. So God brought him some animals. And as I imagine this, it's pretty funny because God brings these animals to him for company. And can you imagine? God brings him this giraffe, and he looks at him and says, "What?" You know? And you can carry on from there. But God also made the birds. And I think that all the creatures around us are here for our company. They're here to keep us company so we won't be lonely. And I know some of you are lonely for your friends these days. I'm lonely for my friends. I mean, everybody's the same in this respect. So where can we find some company? And I'm going to suggest to you we can find some company in our backyard. If you have a backyard. If you don't, you're living in an apartment. You can go to a park. And there are lots of walking trails around Barrie where you can go and see some of the birds that I'm going to show you. And many more, by the way. If you walk the rail trail out in Oromodonte, or there's a great trail out at Edenvale that walks south, you might see some sandhill cranes, great big, huge birds, hummingbirds you might see out there as well. So I'm going to show you a few from my backyard this morning, beginning with the robin. And this is one of our best-known birds, isn't it? They return early in the spring. They sing a lot, starting about 3:30 in the morning if you have your windows open. And they're pretty aggressive if necessary. They're colorful. And they love elderberries. That bush, this slide was just taken a couple of days ago, and the elderberry bush outside our sunroom, it's just laden with elderberries, and they know when they ripen because there were about 5 or 6 of them early in the morning. And this is one of them, the robin. So you've all seen them, and we love them, don't we? And when they return in the spring, we say, "Hey, it's spring." Okay, now, second, yes, this is my favorite bird. How about you? And we all know what they say. They go, "Chickadee-dee-dee," and they talk all year. They talk all year. A lot of birds kind of go silent in the summer, but the chickadees, they talk all year. And they stay all year. They don't fly south necessarily. And so they talk, talk, talk. But they can also whistle, and they have a kind of a chirp as well. And they are the most interesting little creatures because there's a bird bath in our backyard. But the chickadees prefer to drink there's some water in the top of this hummingbird feeder. And so the chickadees prefer to get a drink there. And they're dressed to the nines, aren't they? Black and white, like Sharp Dressed Man, you know that song? Well, your parents do. They're just the best-looking little birds. They fly very fast, and they just chatter all the time. They're the most interesting little birds. And they've brought their babies to our backyard, to the lilac tree, which is just above here, as do a lot of other birds, because this summer we've had, well, I'll tell you in a minute. I'll show them to you in fact. So this is my favorite bird, the chickadee. And I can go out and I go, psh, 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 and they'll come. And they'll become very tame. They'll eat sunflower seeds out of your hand. And some of you have been to the Y Marsh. They have some really tame chickadees there, and they eat the seeds right out. They love sunflower seeds. And that reminds me, if you want to attract some birds to your backyard, you just need a feeder. You can make one out of a milk crate, as a matter of fact. Put some sunflowers in it, hang it in a tree or a bush, and you'll have some birds around. A bird bath is great, too. And you can make one, simply. Just get a pie plate out of the cupboard. Maybe one of those aluminum ones would be best. And put some water in it and put that on a railing or wherever, and you'll have some birds coming to drink. The other day we had 6 starlings and a grackle in our bird bath. 6 baby starlings. The water was flying all over the place. It was so funny. Number 3 is, and I'm going to give you the sound. You know these birds too. They come male and female. This is the female. And the male is bright red. Now, I haven't told you the kind of bird it is. I haven't said what kind it is yet. So there's usually a pair of these in every neighborhood. And the male, who is bright red, gets up in the top of the tree in the neighborhood and has a very, very sharp song that you can hear all over. Now, this is the female, and she's a bit drab in color. Do you know why that is, kids? Here's the reason why. The male birds are often, can I say prettier? Yeah, the male birds are often prettier than the girl birds, because if you want to get a nice girl bird, this is for the guys, you got to look sharp. So that's the reason. And the female birds are not as pretty in one sense, because they are going to lay the eggs, and there's a time of vulnerability. And so they don't want to be, they shouldn't be attractive, because they'll attract predators. So that's the reason. And now I have a sound clip, folks. And this is a song that you will know, the cardinal. Here's the cardinal's song. Terrific, thank you so much. That's the sound clip, and that's really familiar, isn't it? Did I let all of it play? Did I talk over the end of it? That's no matter. This is the female cardinal from our backyard. Again, the cardinals have brought their young, brought their kids to our backyard in the summer, and they have this striking sound, don't they? And they stay all winter, and you can hear them in your neighborhood. And that leads me, did you make any guesses about my bird's nest? And we have a slide of it because this isn't going to look very big. Yeah, that's on my desk at home, that slide, but this is the real thing. And many of you, robin's nests are pretty common. We see those quite often. We don't very often see a cardinal's nest, and this is a cardinal's nest. And you know, do you know something about your parents? They're first-time parents. Like I'm a first-time parent, too. And so it is with the birds sometimes as well, because the cardinals built this nest in a juniper tree and a cedar tree outside our house, about 3 feet off the ground. Not a good move. Because in our neighborhood, maybe not in your neighborhood, we have squirrels. And so that didn't really work out very well. So they abandoned the nest and went elsewhere. And I hope everything went well when they built their nest higher in a tree. But that's a cardinal's nest. All the birds build a different nest. Isn't that interesting? God doesn't do anything. Everything is unique, right? All the birds have their own kind of nest. Robin's nest has mud in it. Mud, right? And are very, very solid, but all the other birds, Baltimore orioles, hummingbirds, they all have different kinds of nests, which fascinates me. They're all different. And sometimes we think birds aren't that smart. When I was a kid, there was an expression, real bird brain, which meant that you should never say that about anybody, but anyway, we did when I was a kid. Birds are really, really smart, really smart. How did the bird know how to make a nest like that? Because they were first-time parents. They never built a nest before. I'll leave that question with you. Next, I got 2 or 3 more. And, I don't have the top of the slide. Oh, this works okay. This is not the one I intended to show you. This one has a bird poking its head out the hole in the bird box, which is right outside our sunroom window, about 2 feet. So these little birds, house wrens, have been there 4 or 5 years maybe. And they raised a couple of young this summer. And I do have a tape of the little ones because you could hear them. Feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, like all day long. But what interests me about these little birds is the hole in the birdhouse is bigger than what the bird needs. So what does the house wren do to prevent larger birds from coming into this birdhouse? You can see that the bird has stuck twigs in the opening. And it's pretty funny to watch this little bird. It's just a little bird with like a twig that's like this long, and it's trying to get it into the birdhouse. This way, that way. Of course, it won't go straight through. And these twigs are sticking out there so that other birds can't come in. Where does this little wren get that information? And several times they've been there. And they may be the same pair, kids. Birds can return to the same neighborhood, to the same backyard, after migrating to Central America or Florida or someplace warm. Isn't that amazing? Just so amazing. They can fly from here to another backyard in Honduras or someplace. It's just so amazing. So these are favorite birds of mine too. And when they've got a nest going and so on, the wren sits on top of the birdhouse and just chatters away, and you can hear it all over the neighborhood. Okay, the next bird is a really fascinating bird. And these we know. Yes. It's a hummingbird, isn't it? And many of you have seen these in your backyards, or you've seen them on walks, because they're fairly common. And they're so tiny. And they have these wings that they can hover, go backwards, up, down, and so on. And they feed on nectar from the flowers, don't they? Now I've made this a bit simpler because this is a hummingbird feeder, which will cost you like $10 at Canadian Tire. And you can hang it in your backyard. If you're in an apartment on one of the lower levels, if you hang it out, you may well get hummingbirds because these birds wander around. They know where the food is. So this is one of our favorite birds too. We only have one hummingbird here, the ruby-throated hummingbird. The male is like green, a sheen of green with a kind of red neck. And the female, I think this is a female, not quite so bright. But in places like Colombia, they have like a couple of hundred different kinds of hummingbirds. It's just the most amazing thing. Okay, I'm getting to the last slide, and this was a lot of fun this summer because we had a pair of doves a nest in the mulberry tree right in front of our house. And they nested there, and they had 2 Dovelings? I don't think so. I got to think for a moment. Baby doves are called squabs because doves are a kind of pigeon, and a baby pigeon is called a squab. So these are 2 squabs. I was just having fun. But when they got big enough to be in the backyard, here they are on top of our umbrella in our patio. And they spent the morning there in the sunshine. I mean, how much fun is that? And I couldn't tell, whether this is Dick and Jane or 2 Susans or 2 Bills or 2 Roberts or whatever, because they pretty much look alike. And none of them wears name tag, right? You can't tell. You can't tell. I can't tell. Some people can probably tell, but I can't tell. And the next slide is similar. There they are on the railing as you step out our back door. There's a little place to stand, and then there's this railing. Here's the same 2 doves. And they're doing what we call preening. This is like, spending half an hour in the washroom in the morning, fixing your hair and all that kind of stuff. So this is what they do. And I guess they're still around because we have doves in our backyard. And it was so much fun watching them, these little birds. And as I say, they're smart. They're smart. All these birds are smart, and they're all different. Like, I didn't mention the blue jays. I'm winding up here, kids, so I got to quit. I could talk more, but I've got to quit because we got to do other things. The blue jays, many of you have seen blue jays. And in our backyard, like we have a lot of birds in the backyard, and the blue jays come screaming in. All the other birds fly away. The blue jays come to the feeders. They throw everything all over the place, and then they leave. Do you know anybody like that at your house? So they all have their own character. Now, looking over the fence to next week, I'm going to talk about bugs. That's right. I'm going to have to bring some pictures of my favorite bugs. I even have a video next week. So next week it's bugs. So stay tuned for that. Okay.